Welcome and good evening. Welcome. I am Brown Girl Interrupting, and today I am featuring my amazing guest, Tashia Brown, with us. We are talking about pain to power, and Tashia is the host of No Holdbacks, the podcast, and Tashia is the shit. So
thank you.
She is. She's fantastic. And welcome.
I appreciate the love.
Tashia Brown. Welcome. And hey, we have is the sister, and good evening, Mr. Jones. So Tashia, welcome. Introduce yourself a little bit to the audience and tell us a little bit about who you are.
Hi, I'm Tashia. Definitely want to say hello to all the Brown Girls Interrupting. I'm happy to be here. Podcast I have is up and coming. No Holdbacks. So to all my No Holdbacks family members, NHBs.
I love it.
Thank you.
I love that you have the NHBs. I like that.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm
I made that
Brown
up.
Girl Interrupting.
I'm hoping it'll catch on.
It's totally catching on. I'm going with it. I love it. I'm gonna have to find the BGIs. I don't know. Like I gotta find one. One now.
You gotta start your hashtag your own fan club, and then like everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that sounds great."
Yes, that's true. We should hashtag our own fan club. So
yeah,
welcome, Nicole. So we got a heavy family focus here with some great family audience, and then we got a lot of our Ranters Network folks as well, and No Holdbacks folks, and Brown Girl Interrupting folks. I love it. You got your sisters here.
I appreciate the love. Yes, we're good. We support each other always.
That is awesome. And I definitely want to hear more about just all that stuff and you're growing up, and we're gonna get into all of it.
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm No Holdbacks.
Into all of it. So I love it. And No Holdbacks is I'm going to say it has not necessarily been on the web and the interwebs, but it is not an up and coming. It is pretty well established and pretty amazing. This is how I've met Tashia. I met Tashia as one of her guests on No Holdbacks.
Yes, indeed.
And it was quite an experience. And I think you've really taken the idea of pain to power and put it into this amazing show. But before we get to that show, tell me a little bit about, because I always ask my guests, how would you define the idea of taking pain and turning it into power?
Well, I would say basically my show, No Holdbacks. Growing up in the 80s, I was very fortunate that our parents had a vision of passing by and seeing Tribeca as it was, because it wasn't Tribeca back then. Mm-hmm. Back then, it was actually a dangerous neighborhood. Most people were like, wait, what? It wasn't Tribeca as it is now. And we grew up here, and in the elementary school I grew up in, the elementary school I went to was a predominantly white. So when you grow up and I grew up in that era that all the features and stuff I have now and had back then weren't famous. Mm. So I actually remember a story of a guy in elementary school that he used to make fun of my lips. Mm. And he was making fun of my lips, and then all of a sudden, Angelina Jolie became famous. Mm. And I couldn't wait to see him the next day when I go to school. I had this whole thing planned out, like, oh, I'm going to tell him. He's going to sit there, and he's going to have to stop making fun of me, and then he's going to have to just tell me I'm beautiful and everything. And when I went in, and he said something about my lips, I was like, but Angelina Jolie has lips like mine. And matter of fact, there are more women getting surgery to have lips like mine. Mm-hmm. And then he was like, you're right. But not buck teeth.
Aw, man, really? Wow.
Can't win.
No, but I think like what you lift up is, and we're going to talk about No Holdbacks. I think that really is like the power of this show for me that I experience is this idea of embracing, being open, being vulnerable, like just being who we are, loud and proud, and in this beautiful way. So you're talking about
it took time. It took a lot of time. It took the help of course, my parents. It took the help of, especially at the time, watching my older sister and some of the movements and stuff that she's done. My sister do something, my older sister Nicole do something. Be like, yeah, this is what I do. Like, and you see, and I'm like,
Mm.
oh, I want. Like, she would do things that might not have been popular at the time, but at the same token, as a black young lady, but the difference between my sister and me was the complexion. So
Mm-hmm.
I still had a struggle with that because I'm darker than she is. So it was dealing with that, but the way my sister helped me would just, she would just seeing her how she would go from one anything she wanted to do to another. For example, she went from ballet, tap dance. I remember she and I was talking about this other day. Ballet, tap dancing. She played the flute.
Mm.
She did track, basketball, and everything she did. I was like, oh, I want to do that too. So I would do ballet. Man, I did ballet for like a day or two. I'm like, it's not for me. I did tap dancing for like maybe two, three. I was like, that wasn't for me. The flute,
Mm.
can't play a song. But it was the fact that she was so open. And my parents was more like, whatever you want to do, try it.
Mm. Mm.
That openness of just go ahead and try it and be who you are, they was with that. But I still struggle because of going to different schools in the neighborhood I was in. It it wasn't more of openness for me, and it wasn't what they call colorism now. There wasn't a label back then that I knew of.
Mm.
So that kind of struggle was something that I just I never really talked and said anything out loud to my parents about it. And I probably should have, and we probably would have had more conversations about it. But you don't even know. As a kid, you don't know. But my mother's light skinned.
Mm. Mhm.
My father's not, but he's a male. So there's like is that different dynamic, and then just learning and going to. Well, I went to school. Went from pre-K to eighth grade was Catholic school because our parents want to make sure that we get this education and everything. Like education is big in our household. Like my parents is more or less say you could either do a trade or do college, but you're going to do something. Because they
Mhm.
want you to stand on your feet as parents should. And they're supportive.
Right, right.
They make sure to let us know that about, it's funny. They didn't say you have to go to college, but they had the degrees on their wall. So like when you walk down
Mm.
the wall, it was one wall because it was an apartment. When you walk by it, we saw the degrees. So that was like, it's encouraging.
Mhm.
It's like the whole mental thing of you seeing it, and it's like, oh, I need to get here. I need to be there. I want to be on that wall. So it's a
I love
dynamic
that.
of just my childhood, seeing things and being when I went to high school and seeing when I went to high school, I learned something very valuable because I told my mother, I said, I don't want to go to Catholic school. I want to go to private school. I want to be with my people. I want to be around mostly black people. But I learned that everyone black is not your friend, and everyone white is not your enemy. And
Mm.
that was something that was huge for me to learn, to see how different people treated me and how my parents had to get involved where it came down to educators, how they was treating us, and just to see how the different people in school interacted.
Mhm.
And then also just seeing videos of seeing nothing but just light-skinned people out. I mean, even today, we're now still saying 2022, the first. I hate the fact that we have to say the first. But prime example, Viola Davis.
Mhm.
Love her movie, love it. But why is she the first
Mm.
at 2000? Why? But it's all about people being comfortable. It's about you being comfortable in your own skin and other people accepting. That accepting is like, no, you don't need people to accept, but at a certain point, you do. The representation. If I turn on TV, I would love to see different actresses that look like me being lead characters,
Yeah.
being leaders, and not having. But what you would see, we turn on videos and stuff. It was all light skin.
So your journey, I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
bring this all together now
Bringing
because I
together.
love it. You
Mm-hmm.
shared a lot. No, but you shared a lot, and there's so many layers that you put into that, right? It sounds like, obviously there's a lot of challenges or a lot of things that you've experienced in your identity of beauty, identity of even like skill color and colorism and the identity with that, but even as a female, as a woman,
Yes.
right? But then the countering of that is that you grew up in a lot of nurture and a lot of messages of valuing yourself, and like so
Mm-hmm.
that your pain to power, if I were to summarize what I'm hearing, is like it was that pain, the power piece was really did come from community, from family,
Oh
from
yes,
from
definitely,
from the
definitely.
people that nurtured that for you. So with that, you then took those experiences, right? Tell me about this start of no holdbacks. Like, when did that idea, I want to create this podcast, where did it come from? And
Mm.
what was your purpose for it?
Well, first, actually, No Holdbacks was the second. This would be my second podcast.
Okay, so tell me about your first one then. Let's go back.
I had a podcast called I was a rapper part of a group called 730.
Mm-hmm.
So it's me and this other girl. I was 7, she was 30, and we did the show was
Wait,
on.
you were 7, she was 30?
Yeah, 730.
Okay.
730. The
Yeah,
whole crazy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wait, okay,
I
so
was
now
born
I'm
in
gonna have to
Bellevue.
step you back a little bit more. See, this is how talking with Tasha is. Tasha's gonna give you like a little bit of something, and you'd be like, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Before we get to the next part of the story, I need to understand this part of the story. So
I have many layers.
how you have so many layers, and so many fascinating stories. Like, we would be here for a long time with all the
Yeah,
stories.
I'm
I
long with
love
it too,
it.
baby.
I love the stories a lot. A little bit name dropping here with those stories. I've seen it. It's lovely. It's amazing. So how does a 7-year-old start
No, 7 is the name of the group. Name of the group is 730. I'm
Okay.
7 and she's 30.
Okay, not you are 7
No,
in
but I was
age
actually
and she
7
is
when I
30.
started writing rhymes.
Okay,
So
so
it
that was
started.
significant.
Yeah, so me starting the rap journey and like performing and actually going to see different celebrities. Like I would. It's funny how my mother was supportive of me seeing these celebrities, that she would actually be waiting outside with me because I
Oh,
was
that's
so
cool.
young.
Yeah.
I remember one time we went to go see Chris Cross and Jermaine Dupri. God rest his soul. So when one of the Chris's passed away, I'm not sure which one. I don't know the last name of the one, but
Mhm.
going back, so she was like, "Go to the back. They're gonna come out to the back." I said, "No, they're coming out through the front." So I ended up seeing Jermaine Dupri, and she ended up seeing Chris Cross, who came out to the back. And she
Oh,
was
that is
like, I
funny.
was so mad.
Ah.
I was so mad. But she was very supportive of that. I've always, think of that. And my father and mother both basically they helped pay for like studio sessions and stuff. And
Mhm.
I I'm what you called when it came to rhyming, my lyrics was on point.
Mhm.
But that beat flow, ooh, child, I was skipping them. It'd be the beat here, I'd be like, nope.
Wait, so tell me, like, because if you started at 7, was it part of this journey of your identity? Like,
Oh
was
yeah,
your
rhyming and stuff.
writing,
What?
like,
Oh
did
yeah.
that help with some of your
Oh
power journey too?
yes. Because I used to in high school we would have like little battles sometimes in the lunchroom. I would win like one. It wasn't like a whole lot of battles. I would do like 1 or 2. And I used to always walk around with shades on all year round. I don't care what the weather was. In high school, I had shades on. It was to the point that even the local pharmacy downstairs would tell my parents, "You know, your daughter wears shades all year round." But my parents understood that that was the way for me to hide from the world.
Mm.
When I get older,
So
looking
it's your
back, I understand
protection.
that. Yeah, it's just like I didn't want people to see any vulnerabilities in me, especially in
Mm.
high school, because they take that and they run. So for me to hide, one of my nicknames then was Shades, but I also mostly got known for the nickname Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so then we end up developing and then meeting a girl in high school, not in high school, sorry, which is actually I sort of met her in elementary school. The other girl that's part of the group, we met at day camp, but we didn't know that, so we met again in college. We were singing, like, each day camp had a little song. So one day I was in the
Mm-hmm.
living
Mm-hmm.
room. She came in my house. I'm living with my mom's, and she and I was singing the song, and then all of a sudden she comes running because she was in the bathroom. She went to the bathroom. She's like, "Oh my gosh, I know you from somewhere." And then she started singing the song, and we realized we was in the same day camp. But
Oh,
she's a
that's
year older than
funny.
me.
Yeah.
No, 2 years older than me. But either way. So we end up somehow in college forming a group, and we did like a few songs together. And then we did the show, the 730 show,
Mm-hmm.
which is on YouTube. And from there, it just so many things happen. Life happens. And we stopped filming. And then I was like, I enjoy talking and interviewing people. And I want to also help people to be more. comfortable in your own skin.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember telling her different things that she could be comfortable with. Like, you're not going to be 100% comfortable, but at least move the scales up. And if everyone could tell their journey on how they got more comfortable in their own skin, then they can help the other person listening to do it. Actually, this is one
There
of the
we
videos.
go. What's this? Tell us about this.
That's one of the shows. That's one of the 7:30 shows.
I love it. And Nicole
And then
says, beautiful
you see the
reflection.
background with
I
yeah,
love it. Look at you. Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So
Nice.
we actually did a video with one of the producer of the show of with Iran. Thanks to Logic with Iran. Yeah. Did what was the song? I can't remember the song right now. I'm sorry, so much on my mind.
That's okay. That's
With
fine.
school and everything, but everything
Is
basically.
is that Tribeca what?
That's my sister.
Ah, okay, okay.
That was one of the things we used to say. I used to say because okay, here's another thing, and it's funny that she brings that up. Here's another thing because when I was younger, people didn't understand Tribeca, so it's called Independent Plaza, but all of it together is Tribeca.
Mm-hmm.
So I used to tell people, "Oh, I'm in Independent Plaza, Tribeca." They'd be like, "Oh, so you live in the hood?" I'm like, "No, I don't." And they're like, "Yes, you do." I'm like, "It's an independent a plaza is the hood." I'm like, "But no, it's not. Nothing against the hood, but that's not where I live." So
Right.
then when I try to explain, people would call me a liar, and they were trying to make it seem like my neighborhood was bad, my neighborhood is nothing, and I don't know what I'm talking about. So it used to frustrate me so much that when I started to describe my neighborhood to people when I got older, they'd be like, "Where you from?" "I'm from Tribeca." "What?"
Oh, okay. I like it. There's the context.
So
Tribeca
that's
what?
where Tribeca came from. And my two younger sisters, poor things, I love them. So
Oh.
one day someone said something to me and I was so mad. I wanted to make sure my sisters was confident with being in Tribeca, that it's okay we live in Tribeca. Be proud we live in Tribeca. So then I said to them, anyone asked me, like, you say Tribeca what? Say Tribeca what? And he said a few times. And it's funny when they was in here, when it came up to the video, they was like, yeah, she had to say it like 10, 20 times. I was like, did I make you say that a lot or just that day? She was like, just that day, but you definitely
But
had us.
ingrained it. You
Yeah,
so,
like be proud of where you from. No matter where you from, be proud, because that's part of your journey. And don't hold it back. Let it out.
and I love that because I think that's so much of what you're doing, right? So let's go back to this talk show. So you know that you wanted to interview people. You know that you wanted people to be comfortable in their own skin. You started with your sisters, with Tribeca What, and now, but then how did that become your first podcast? And what was your first podcast called?
The very first podcast. Oh, the very first podcast. I wasn't about. It was about getting comfortable, but that wasn't like the main goal.
Okay.
It was just us talking and just doing random topics of different things. It wasn't like a complete format we had. Mm-hmm. And when we stopped, and I know I still wanted to do it, but I wasn't like, oh, striving for it. Like, I wasn't focused on it because there's so much going on between, at the time, was working school, and then I was like, oh, no, I was just finding excuses. And then I don't remember exactly the date I decided to do no holdbacks, but I do remember I ran into, actually, no, I'm lying.
You remember the date?
Not the exact date, but I remember what happened. So I have to do a select or rewind real quick.
Right.
So one of my best friends, Inquirer Rochelle, you was on her show.
I was. Actually, you got to go check her out, Inquirer Rochelle. She also
right.
has a fabulous YouTube channel, and check her out on Instagram.
Please support.
Yes, yes.
So her journey, she was talking about like podcasts and stuff, and she's doing with her show. She was like, "Oh yeah," I was like, "You know what? I did a show." She's like, "Well, why don't you continue it?" I was like, "Yeah." And then I started buying equipment and started buying stuff for it. Then it was, what would the name be? Then it was ended up being No Holdback. Like No Holdbacks felt so right. And it's crazy how I ran into one of my exes one day, and we was talking about the podcast and stuff. He was like, "No holdbacks," and I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Oh, that's what you used to say in a relationship with me." I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yeah, you used to say, oh, I gotta tell you something, no hold back. So I was like, shut
Oh,
up.
that's funny. But
And
you
this,
don't remember
I
that
don't
when you
remember
came
none
up
of
with the
that. I
name.
didn't remember that until he was like, that was your thing that you said. So it was
Mm.
like,
It's been
wow.
ingrained in you. Like and it sounds like all the stories you've told, right? That is what it is. No holdbacks is your theme of what is important to you, the underlying value,
Yeah. It
right?
was for that and in sexuality. Like to be comfortable with how sexual you can be is fine. As long as legal.
Yes, yeah, that's true.
Yes,
And
yes.
Nicole says
Yes, manifestation.
manifestation. Yes, put it out there in the
Indeed.
world. And I have to say, the layer which I love is women supporting women, right? You
Yes.
mentioned Rochelle, you mentioned your sister Nicole, and and your
And of
other
course
sisters, right?
be bad and Tanisha, yeah, my
Yes,
parents.
yes. And
Yes.
I mean, like, but so nothing happens in a vacuum. We
Yeah.
all get support from others, but I think particularly we don't see women supporting women as much,
Oh
and
yeah,
we
you're
don't
right.
see
Right
women
about that.
growing women as much. So I think the power, particularly women of color, like I think
Yes.
there's a lot of competition. There's um a lot of animosity that comes up or wanting to be more than everyone else. And so I think you just outlined some really beautiful things about like the power of lifting
Oh
other women
yes,
up.
yes. A support system is amazing, and my sisters. I tell you, if I it's a lot of things I wouldn't be if it wasn't for them.
Mm.
Seeing Nicole's journey, she's a retired senior master sergeant. To see her journey, she was in the Air Force for 26 years. Thank you for your service. We appreciate you. Salute you. Um, Seeing my sisters, Be Bad, Savi, original, is it? I think it's. I'm saying her name wrong. I know she's going to kill me. It's not the name we call her often.
Right,
It's
right.
it's 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 her stage name, and I know she's going to kill me that I didn't say it right. It's spelled Saevi. I'm gonna work on it. I promise you, I will work on it.
She's gonna get it.
I'm,
She's
I'm
gonna.
gonna
It's
get it
okay.
together.
It's
But
with
see,
love. It's
yeah,
with lots of love.
yes, it
She got
is.
your name in her
Yes,
mind.
and her songs and stuff. The songs is nice. Check that out. And Be Bad and my sister, like her, like seeing them, having them in my life, made me make sure that a lot of things I didn't do.
Mm. Mm.
Like being in high school, since my older sister was in the Air Force, I became the older sister in the house. So I took on that role, like, oh, okay, so I can't do this, I can't do that because they're watching.
Oh.
And but I wanted to be a positive. Like I would keep. It's so funny. I would keep my freaky stuff on me because I didn't want them to find it. Like I remember one time, it's a funny story. I had I had a pair of handcuffs and I had it in my pocket, and I had it on a jacket, and it was in the hallway closet. I used to borrow my father's jacket. So I'm in the room and my mother takes the jacket. You can hear the sound.
Right.
So then she goes and so the first thing she's gonna do is go to her husband. God rest his soul, my dad. And she was like, "What's this?" Child. With no hesitation, he threw me underneath the bus. He said, "You
Oh.
better ask your daughter," with no hesitation.
Oh.
No
Oh.
hesitation.
There's the shock face. Nicole.
With no hesitation. He's like, "Man, actually, daughter." So then I hear them call in the room. I go in the room, and my father says, "So this is how you keep a man?" I said, "Daddy," and I take the cups and I go.
But so you
Cause I
don't.
was trying to be protective of them. I put myself out there, and it's just like that's
But no holdback still.
no
Like there
holdback.
was. It
But
was
they knew that. My
open enough,
parents know
right?
like the type of person I am. Like if you used to say, "Oh, I saw Tasha on the corner smoking weed and all that," they'd be like, but back then, they'd be like, "No, just not doing that." I saw Tasha in one of those little freaky shops. They'd be like, "Yeah, it's probably her. It's probably her." But she's
Okay.
grown. She's like
But
she's 18, 19 years old. She's grown.
but it's like it's knowing you,
Yeah.
right? And I think what I love about no holdbacks is you're really encouraging women to know themselves. So
Yes.
so coming back to that, right? Like thinking about you got the name
Mhm.
from what you've already like lived, right? No holdbacks is important to you. What kind of experiences when you started the podcast did you have your guests going through? Like what were some of the conversations that came up, and Yeah, like what and who are your guests? Like who did you invite on?
Well, I mostly because my bottom goal is to have people talk about their journey, how they become comfortable in their skin. If they're not, how are they working towards it?
Mm-hmm.
Mental health is very huge for me because there's not that many mental health counselors and therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists of color. So it's important that you be comfortable in your own skin. Um, so with knowing all that, I wanted to have different guests. I had nutritionists on there. I had someone. I had you.
You did.
I definitely had you on the show to discuss your show because that was very important. That's very important to me to for people to tell their journey because your journey is not just your journey alone. So many other people have similarities to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to find out different people's journey to make them more comfortable. So and then also I had one of my friends on there, and she talked about her clothing line that she was coming out with. Who else I've had? I'm trying to think of all the guests. I'm sorry, forgot you, but we will have a
But it did,
snippet.
I mean, you've had quite a few guests. How many episodes have you had?
Um, about maybe 4 or 5. Oh, I had one of my
Okay.
friends who I had someone who got proposed to on the show.
On the
On
show.
the show.
Wow. Wait, did you know
Yes.
that was going to happen
Oh
on the
yeah, I
show?
planned that. All that was part of it. All of it's part of it.
Oh,
It was
real
all
no
part of it.
holdbacks. Like we're
Yeah.
just doing everything
Yes.
here. I love it.
Yes.
I
Yeah. It
love
was
it.
so beautiful. Like it was
That is
like yeah.
cool.
Yes. Yes.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I love it. I love it. So no holdbacks really became the space for other women. It sounds like mostly women, right? To
It's
be
mostly well, I want everyone to be comfortable in your own skin
right.
and be comfortable with your sexuality. Like if this is what you like sexually, say it. This is what you like, this is how you are, this is your journey, express it. When you in a first of all be comfortable if you gotta be comfortable in your own skin before you can be in a relationship to be comfortable in.
Mm.
So you gotta
Yes.
be comfortable being
Yes.
with you.
Thank you. I gotta say, I mean, that's so important because so few
Yes.
people are. So few people are. And I will say that it was a mistake I made myself.
It was a journey that you
It
made.
was it was a journey. It was
It's
part
never a
of the
mistake, it's a
journey.
journey.
It was part of
Yes.
the lessons on the journey.
Yes.
One of the more painful ones, but yes, yes.
My dad used to say sometimes, God was so wow, he used to say, sometimes we all gotta go to school of hard knocks.
That's for sure. That's for sure. And that's the way we learn, right?
Yeah.
But so in that you've had starting with women, but there's going to expand to men too, right?
Yeah.
And this idea
I've actually
of
had a guy on the show.
openness. Okay, you have. You
Yeah,
have. Okay. And what was that? Like how was that
it
different than having a woman
but
or
it,
women
but it was
before?
it was he was on the show, but he wasn't like it was like the after show. So
Oh, okay.
so like he just came on and then we was all just talking and we were just like it was more like a debate. Like I don't even know how it started. Like it just the conversation just kept flowing. And it was good. Like my whole thing is I want everyone to be comfortable. And it's extra hard for people of color to be comfortable in their own skin.
Mm.
All because of everything we have to deal with society. So yeah.
Thank you. Well, I love that. And that is definitely a great point. And I have to say, being on the show itself, and Amanda says, yes, got to love yourself first to be able to love someone else. Thank you, Amanda.
Yes.
Salute
Yes,
to you.
Amanda.
Welcome here. And Better Minds with Trini says, hello, family. Better Minds,
Hello.
welcome. So I want to say, it was an amazing opportunity for me to be on the show because I think
Thank
that
you.
that exactly is what you captured. Like I loved the feeling of being able to just be so freely me with no containment, with just it was a lot I said, right? Like
And we
I think I shared a lot of details.
We loved it. My NHBs love it.
And it was fantastic. It was a great experience. I can't wait to be on again. I think I've been invited for another conversation with maybe Nicole this time as well.
Yes,
so I'm super excited about that.
We'll have a few panels.
But that's really powerful, and I think there's so much that's come from that. So we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then we
Okay.
will come back and we're going to learn a little bit more about no holdbacks and the experience. And so, as Tasha said, I was on her show and I talked about my writing and my some of the projects that I'm working on. So you're going to get an opportunity to learn a little bit more about my writing on my blog called Brown Girl Interrupting. We'll be back in a moment.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Maria, but you are soon going to know me as Brown Girl Interrupting. And what I mean by that is that very soon, hopefully, you're going to be following my blog. I am a writer, and I started writing because I was married, I had children, and then my life changed when I separated. And I did a lot of learning and reflecting and growing in that process of change, because change always leads us to that. And I've decided to share that with the rest of the world, because sometimes hearing that someone else is going through the same thing as you, or understanding and putting words to the feelings and experiences we're having, helps us to heal from them, or grow from them, or learn from them. And so that's what my blog is. It's writing about life, healing, relationships, parenting, dating, marriage, pain, love, mistakes, growth, and coming out whole still in all of it as a human, flawed, but always open to new things. So that's my life, that's my journey, and it's written in this blog. But my hope is that you are going to go to www.browngirlinterrupting.com and join and subscribe to the blog and read all about my story to help you maybe gain some perspective on yours. All right, welcome back. And
Yeah. Savvy.
first, we got to make sure we get it right.
Savvy. Please.
Do we
please
get a
write.
thumbs up, Savvy? Yes, yes. Be Bad says
Please
yes.
make sure you check out her music on all um platforms. That's the word I was looking for. Platforms.
I love it. And we look for it as Savvy.
Yes.
Yes.
Please.
Okay. Fabulous. So thank you. And thank you. Just a quick plug. That was my commercial for my blog. I just recently wrote a new post called Rising Sons. I have children, and I wrote about my journey as a mother of sons and what that's been like. So definitely go check that out, as well as an older post, but it's still got a lot of connections on relationships and my own healing, which is she's a runner, she's a track star. So please make sure you go check out my post.
I know, she's a track star.
I love to play on names, you know, right? And that's why this episode is called Hold Back for What, right? Like that's it. So
there's no need to hold back.
There's no reason, right? There is no reason to hold back. So it's a great transition, because you mentioned that you are in the mental health field.
Yes.
I want to know how that, one, what brought you to the field? Like, what was the passion? I think when we think about fields like that, I'm an educator, and so I know, like, you don't just, like, it's not one of those things that starts late in life, right? It really is earlier that you just know this is something I want to do. So at what point did you realize that was important to you, and why was it important to you?
It started early and later.
Okay.
It started I would say freshman year in college. There was a professor, I did a sociology class, and I was getting A's in the class. Like old work and stuff was becoming it was real easy for me, and I liked it. I liked reading the material. I enjoyed every part of it. And then the professor was like, you should do something like psychology, sociology, something. I was like, I don't want no crazy people. And then that was it. Like I was done. And then I ended up working in a hospital. I was 23, and I was giving different people advice. People would come to me. It would go from doctors to X-ray techs to nurses aides to nurse managers. It was to the point that I was respected enough that my opinion was It was up there.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
it amazed me, but at the same time, I thought, I mean, it didn't really, no, I can't say it. It didn't amaze me. I just thought that's what they do for everyone.
Mm.
And so it was brought to my attention, like, no, people value what you say. People come to you because you're easy to talk to. And I was like, oh, maybe I should do psychology. And then I just said that out loud, and then people was like, you should. I'm like, really? So it was like a little survey I did, and people was like, yeah, you've helped me do this. This month, like you helped me through that. And I was like, all right.
Mm.
So then I started looking into it. I was like, maybe I'll be a psychiatrist. And then I looked at the years of school and I was like, maybe not. And then I was like, good Lord, I'm gonna never live. I'm gonna never get out of school. But
Yeah, it's
God
a
bless the ones
commitment.
who are. I definitely we appreciate all of you. So that was like, it's got to be something, another way to help. And then I learned about counseling, and then I learned
Mm.
about therapists, and I learned there's so many different levels for mental health that I had no clue about. So then I started to, but I wanted to open my own practice. So then I got
Mhm.
my associates in business.
Mhm. I'm going to push you back a little bit because I want to know when you think about the idea, because I don't think everyone is familiar with all the different positions and different roles that mental health
Mm-hmm.
support has, right? So we mentioned psychologists, but what's the difference between counselors and therapists when it comes to getting that support for individuals?
Well, the counseling and therapist is similar to each other a lot of
Mm-hmm.
ways, and it's all about different specialties that they have. You have some that's into not into I should say that have the licensure for um, family
Mm-hmm.
family therapy, and then you have addiction specialists. Like when I just came back from a residency, and the normally when you do schools for different degrees and stuff that you get, you especially when you do online, because I'm an online learner, that you just go straight through. But I had no idea until I got into this program that there's a residency. There's two residencies, and and it's an internship in
Wow.
a mix of school. Like so, when you do mental, like I'm going to school for mental health counseling. So with that, there's different levels of different areas that you can have. So you have addiction, you have grief counseling. Like I didn't even know there was such thing called grief counseling, and so got
Mm.
so my father passed away. And then when we was finding different things, it was like, oh, maybe I should all see a grief counselor. I said, there's a grief counselor? And
Mm.
I'm like,
Mm.
wow, it's amazing. Like it's so many different fields and different. So one person can do one or two fields, and then you have people who just specialize just in one. So
Yeah.
it's so wherever you need, you could mostly get with a different therapist or
But that is so important to know because I think sometimes I know for me, like I look at the list when you look at therapists, they have a list and it's like I don't think I ever thought that this is a certificate. This is like a knowledge base
yes.
that they have, or this is just who they support, right? And so
Hmm.
that's important to know
Oh yes.
because it is very different if you're experiencing grief than if you're experiencing abuse, right? Those are
Yes.
different types of things
But
to
some things,
to deal with, right?
not to cut you off, some things underline each other. Like you could be going through grief, but you could also have an addiction.
Mm, mhm.
So addiction can be the base of a lot of different other problems. Like you might have someone that's a family therapist, but also have a specialty in addiction, which can help because someone in that family
Mm,
can be addicted. That's can be the dynamic of the problem with the whole entire family. So you can have
right.
more than one, and that's why it's good to have. Most people try to have like one or two because, especially with addiction.
That makes sense, right? It's
Yes.
overlapping, and you really don't know what someone need. I think self-diagnosis doesn't necessarily tell us what someone
Oh
needs until
no.
they actually talk to someone who is a counselor.
Google is good for
So,
finding
counselor and
locations.
therapist was your focus then, and so how did that then connect? Like, how does that connect for you to the things you're creating and the other ways that you're like applying that learning to your life and the way that you move through the world?
Learning through the program, just learning how to interact with people, learning more things about myself. Because it's amazing when I went to this residency and met these amazing people, there were a lot of them that already had some type of background dealing with clients, because we don't call them patients, we call them clients.
Mm-hmm.
Patients is when you go for the hospital. So for us, we call them clients.
Mm-hmm.
So them having all that background and me never had any clients, I was like a little intimidated. And yeah, we all going for this
Mm-hmm.
master program, but you have more knowledge coming in than I do. So I'm just sitting there, and little did I know there was two other people who didn't. And then, like in the midst of, it was a 5 day residency, and like day 2 or 3, people were like, "Oh, I appreciate that, Tasha. You helped me." And I'm like, "I'm helping you." Like you learn, it reminds you how much you can learn from so many different people. By the end, day 5, how we've interacted and the things that I've learned, like how to know how to push myself, know that, listen, it's okay, and learn what my older sisters always tell me: Grace, can't do it all. Can't do it all.
Yeah.
And it's okay to make mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing that you don't realize and you don't want to do. You don't want to make a mistake. So you try to be perfect, but no one's perfect. You're going to make
No.
mistakes and you're going to learn from them.
Yes.
And one of the main things I've also learned, especially during this whole journey, is how important active listening is. Sometimes when someone's talking to you, they might not need, and it's funny, my sister, well, I'm always going to mention all my sisters with age, but they've helped me with this journey. My sister Nicole would, if I call her and I'll say something, she's like, "Okay, so wait, are you asking me to help you, or are you venting?"
Right,
And
right.
then I learned that that's something that sometimes that's people just need you to listen, not to solve, to listen. And as counselors, your job is not to solve a person's life. It's to help them to get through it. Help them on that journey for them to figure things out on their own, because you don't want to be their crutches. So yeah, I'm still learning.
I love
I'm still learning about myself. And that's another thing with no holdbacks, that you're gonna constantly be learning. And if you're not constantly learning, then you need to find more friends. Surround yourself with people that push you.
Yeah.
Those yes people do not help you.
No.
That's why I love our friends and family, because I remember I had a picture on Facebook, and my sister Brenda was like, "Oh, brother lotion and skin claries." My elbows were ashy. My family will tell you.
But you gotta have people, right? Like, so if you could tell me my elbows are ashy, then you're probably gonna tell me when I'm making the wrong choice in a decision that's important in my life, right?
Yes.
Those are the things, right? Like, and I can trust you to tell me, right?
Oh yes, yes.
And Nicole says you should never be the smartest person in the room. Never, right? Never.
Yes.
Because then you're not growing, you're not learning.
Yes.
So definitely, definitely. So along those lines, like, if you were to, you definitely are talking about, and I have to say, like, one of the things that I really appreciate about you, and I met you and then we just show together, right? Like,
we did. I did.
Like, I've known you for two. Today's like the third day that we've been together, I think, right? Like, but I there's your energy, your personality, your warmth, like you really do exude a space that is comfortable and safe for people to talk to, right? Like, you have that energy about you. But what I really appreciate, and I noticed right away, is that your grace, and also your honesty about not being perfect, right? And I think a lot of people don't have that, and you're constantly in this growth place. And even like as you're talking, and you feeling surprised that people want to talk to you or get advice from you, or that they thought that what you said was important, I think that demonstrates how, one, I think us as women still struggle so much with owning who we are, right? And that truly is a journey, and that no holdbacks of everything, right? And then also, again, that you are able to, be honest and open about not knowing everything, right? And it's so important. It's so important. But so along those lines, right, of not knowing everything, and of learning, you talked about, we started this conversation about you growing up in the 80s and messages that you
Yes.
got and
80s
what
baby.
it was. Yes,
Tribeca.
80s babies. Okay, I'm not Tribeca, but I am 80s baby. I am 80s baby. I'm
We accept you.
Maryland.
We accept
I'm
you. You
Maryland.
Tribeca.
Do I
Tribeca by
pass? I'm
yeah. You Tribeca by affiliation.
okay. My affiliation. I
Mhm. Mhm.
appreciate that. I
Mhm.
appreciate that. Look, that was like the best compliment. I think that was also what won me over with you. You asked me where in New York I was from, and I was like, okay, like I passed the New York test a
And she
little
was like,
bit.
you're
I was
not
like
from New
real
York.
excited. Like now from Virginia. I love Virginia DMV folks. I'm happy. I'm
Yes, we love
very.
Missy and we love Timberland.
I am. But come on now. We all
I'm
know
doing
it's
music
nice.
shout outs.
It's very exciting to be,
Brooklyn Savvy.
to be referred to as a New Yorker. But so when you think about all of that, right? Like, and you obviously knew a lot about yourself, and you were a very secure young woman. It seems like from the start,
No, not from the
but
start.
or not from the
Oh,
start,
oh
but
no.
along the
The
way,
rose was bumpy,
you
girl.
grew,
Ooh,
right?
child. That's why I had the
So,
shades. I had to
so
remember I
tell
had the shades
me.
on and stuff. Eventually I ended up taking the shades off and became more comfortable in that. I was the baggy baggy clothes back then was what people would do. I wanted to make sure that I wasn't messed with when I was in high school. I was the I was the girl with the baggy clothes, the Timberland that I put a band-aid on it, and people like, why you got a band on your Timbs? I said because I was hurt how much I paid for it. And it was like, that's so whack. Take out when you're trying to be like that. So then I used to do push-ups on my knuckles, like just to show I could do it. Like I would like I was trying to find me,
Mm,
and I didn't want to
mm,
be tested on me in a journey of
mm,
finding me
mm,
in high school. In high school, they'll
mm.
test you. So it was different. It was
Yes.
things like that, and the rhyming, and then trying not even knowing the fact of colorism and understanding the different body parts that I used to get. It's gonna make fun of because of my butt. Now look at people now. But it was like the butt, the lips. Only thing I didn't get made fun of was because of my chest, because that's always been the thing. But everything else, yeah. And it was like my mother would constantly talk when she saw things. She would talk, and having my older sister soundboard, because I didn't want to just talk to my younger sisters about my troubles, because then I'm putting things in their head. In my head, I'm influencing them, and I shouldn't, because they're younger than me. I didn't. Now I can sit there and call them up, but like, yeah, da 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 da, because they're older now. Now they're not
Mm,
younger. They're my younger sisters, but they are grown women now.
right.
So to have different friends and stuff that I surrounded myself around helped me with the journey of becoming more comfortable. Like all of my friends are doing something or
Mm-hmm.
have done something. This one just got her master's. This one is an NP. This one's an NP. This one's work. Like even with among my sisters, like I'm so proud. All of them is doing something. Savvy's doing music. Be Bad is acting and doing soundtrack music. And then my older sister got stuff coming. I don't know what she want me to say about it yet, but she do got something coming. People not ready for her. It's coming. It's going to be great. But we all have our own journeys, and we just then we push and support each other, as you can see in
Mm.
this group. You
That's
know,
a beautiful, beautiful
yeah,
thing.
I'm really blessed with that. And I'm blessed
So
also my brothers too are they both very supportive as well. Let me
it's
not
not
mention
not
them,
that
then
right,
they
right.
say no. I get
Everybody
that little
needs a
text message.
mention, right? Why not
Oh,
about
I don't
us?
exist.
So yeah, the family text afterwards. So but in that, like, and I appreciate you saying that, right? Like that there obviously it's been a journey, right? And
Hmm.
you've had a community, and you've had
Yes, the
family, and
community.
you've had
Yes.
friends that helped you through it, but you also did a lot of that yourself.
Oh
But like,
yes, that
if
work.
you were to look back now
Mm.
and think about some of the big lessons in life lessons that have helped you through those things as an adult now, what what are some of those lessons that you have taken away that you might say to young Tasha?
It's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay you don't know.
Mm,
It's okay that it's going to take you time to get there. Um, no one, which is crazy. When I used to work at the first hospital I worked in, and a nurse would make a mistake and they would come out crying, especially if an older nurse said something to them, a senior nurse, I should say. And I should tell, I would pull the nurse aside and say, "Let me tell you something. She didn't come out the womb a nurse, okay?
Mm.
So where you at now? She was there. Don't worry about it." Like, yeah. Like all of a sudden they call. I'm like, yeah, you're right. I'm like, no one's born that way. It took them time. They've made mistakes. I've seen some of them. I could tell you on your lunch break. And sometimes giving advice to other people help me reflect on how I'm living my life.
Mm.
You know, it's that mirror image that you have to, and then sometimes you still don't. Sometimes the biggest hypocrite.
Right.
I'll
It's
give
hard to
advice if
practice what we preach
yes,
sometimes, that's for sure. And
yes,
I don't know, is it always a hypocrite as much as it is, I think, that we don't give ourselves the same care we give others?
that's true. Self care is very. I would agree with that. But let me snatch that back and throw it away. I would
Well, it could
say
be both, though. I would say it could
no,
be
no,
both.
no. I'm gonna take the hypocrite. I'm gonna
That's
take
it.
it up,
That's it.
snatch it up,
Okay.
throw it away. But yeah, I would say that that's another thing that we learn in with counseling is the fact that you have to have self care.
Mm.
And it's the big like we when I told them everything that's happened with my father passing and everything, and how my sisters and my parents, together 40 something years of marriage. Yeah, that's
It's a long time.
that and the whole journey of what came with that, and the journey my sisters and my brothers had to go through with that. It was like, well, what are you all doing? Do you take time? Have you taken time?
Mm.
And it's crazy. I know- I remember one time, it's happened a few times. I remember one time particularly that my older sister called and I said, I don't feel like talking. The next day, I don't feel like talking. The third day, you're going to pick up the phone and talk to me. And she called me. She was like, no, I need to hear you and you need to talk. You need to go get a mani and petty and something.
Mm.
Get out the house and like it's on them doing school, they're taking care of things that need to be taken care of. And it's like you need time for you. That self-care, that breakaway, whether it's music, whether it's just hanging out with friends, it's so important for you to deal with everything else in life.
Mm-hmm. That's
And
so
it
true.
took it sometimes I definitely need and you need friends to remind you. Like you'll know what to do. Like I know a nurse who's I'm not gonna say details of, but I know a nurse whose significant other passed away. But when she came out the room and saw it was blue, the first thing she did was call a boss instead of calling 911 because it's like you don't think.
Mm.
So you can have all the knowledge in the
Mm.
world of things that you're supposed to do, but because you're supposed to do it, you might not do it. But if you surround yourself with people who's also knowledgeable, they remind you what you need to do, and that still helps
Mm.
uplift you.
Yeah.
That
That's
keeps you on the right path. Like everyone needs to have that special someone,
yeah.
not someone, you need that community. A community is not just for the
Mm-hmm.
kids, that village. You need a
Oh, that's
village
a
for
village for all of us.
all of
Yes.
us need the village, but it's
Yes.
important for you to know who's to be in your village. You're
Oh, but
responsible.
yes.
You're responsible. It's like in any village and community, someone to take care of the plants, someone to take care of the farm, and someone to help that village to stay good and grow.
Mm.
It's important for you to realize to do that with people. If this person not good for the village and the village and they're making the corn and stuff not work, they fired. You
Mm.
got to fire friends.
That's true.
You
So
got to fire them.
everybody has a role in the village, but you have to
Yes.
be discerning about who's in your village because
Yes.
everybody doesn't pass the walls of the
Yes.
village, right?
And if
And
you
that's
don't, it
important
destroys the
because
village.
it's yeah, like negativity really seeps into things, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
infectious, but also in that same way, positivity can also be infectious, right? And
Yes,
I
so
think
much.
again, bringing you all back to your show and your journey and everything like that positivity, and I love how you summarize that. It's okay, right? And it's okay for all of the things that it's okay with is
The failures and
beautiful.
stuff is okay.
And failures are okay. It's all
Yes.
okay and it's beautiful. And we learned so much about you today. Thank you so much. And
Thank
thank you for
you.
sharing your story. But what are your next steps? Like, what are your hopes for No Holdbacks and any other projects that you have in the works?
Well, for no holdbacks, I definitely want definitely have more shows. My platform right now is No Hold Backs One on Instagram. We're working on YouTube and be on iRant. Shout out to iRant. Shout out to Ja.
The iRant Network, yes.
Yes. And from there, we're gonna just spread the no holdbacks to everyone, to the community, to go to different villages, different parts of the world, everybody to know that it should definitely be, that's how you should live your life. And then eventually, the journeys that have taken place in my life, there's a recent journey I'm not going to talk about right now. I'm going to save it. That book is going to come out based on that journey I had to take. And it's a journey that we all take.
Mm-hmm.
Each person in the world takes this journey, but that's what the book is going to be about, and how it's something that particularly you have to do when you go through this journey. Plan to write a book about that.
Well, I look forward to hearing more about the book, and I love it. Nicole says it's a no holdbacks movement. Yes, and it's going to be amazing when she comes out with this. When the show starts to be produced and broadcast, we are definitely going to be following. I'm going to be supporting, definitely, because us women of color, us women, the iRant Network, we are all here to support. This is a village for sure, and I feel like I found so many of my soul tribes. I saw some comments I definitely want to elevate. I know Josh says some amazing things, just talking about how wonderful Tasha is. So I think we're going to throw those comments back up. Josh says, facts, Tasha is amazing, very authentic, folks, non-judgmental, positive, funny, supportive, always willing to listen, whole package, and a great friend.
Oh, thank you, John. I know him for like over 20 years. He didn't even realize that's how we've known you. He was like, no, we have. I said, definitely have. Wow. I met you in 1998 or 99. That's 20. That's 20 plus. Wow,
that's a long time. And again, to stay in someone's village for that long says a lot about that. And I have to say, I've only met you 3 times, but I would say I can concur, and I feel the energy. And I know that Ja also himself is an amazing person. I'm grateful to have in my village.
That's why we need each other's village. So, and now you're in the village.
I'm in the village too, right? I made it past the walls.
Yes.
I made it past the walls. And I am so grateful.
No holdback village.
So many of us are going to learn from that. And that is an amazing experience. And thank you so much. And thank you to all of you for tuning in. Thank you to Ja for producing, and to Amir for our lighting and setting us all up here.
A&S, we appreciate you so much.
Definitely do.
Lord knows I know how to work these lights. I have them here, but I have no idea how to work them.
And they are fabulous lights too. And Nicole says, great show. Thank you so much. And thank you to our audience members all for supporting, for being in the chat, for showing up, for watching. Please make sure that you go to No Holdbacks One and on Instagram, and you follow her, and you stay tuned for all the great things coming up from Tasha, as well as please go and follow me. Go to my Instagram, which is Brown Girl Interrupting. Also, just go right up there to the link, www.browngirlinterrupting.com. Go check out my posts that I've done recently, and tune in every Sunday at 9:00 for Pain to Power, which is this show where we feature some amazing interviews with individuals who have taken pain and turned it into power, just like Tasha. Oh,
amazing hosts. I love it. Thank you.
It's my honor and pleasure, because I learned so much from everyone, and it's been a pleasure to meet everyone, and I love being able to do this in person. I wanted to say this, but I didn't get to say live from New York is where we are. I didn't get to say it the first time. From Tribeca, what? And we are here. We are very excited, and please go and follow us, and make sure that you tune in to all of the things we have coming up. So have a beautiful night. Thank you again to everyone, and peace.
BGIs and NHBs.
Yes, BGIs and NHBs. We don't make it a thing.
Yes, no holdback movement. Thank you.
Yes, peace and love.
You touch, you're so insatiable, insatiable, insatiable. It's about the way you laugh, giving me that crazy rush. You're so insatiable, 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 insatiable. Every time we do the things we do alone, I just can't get enough. Running in and out can count on you. Swear I won't lose you, boy. Taking me with a great desire. Promise to never lose that fire. Your heart's my home. I like the way you move, liking all the ways you touch. You're so insatiable, insatiable, insatiable. It's about the way you lust, giving me that crazy rush. You're so insatiable, 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 insatiable. You choosing me, I'm keeping you. Give me all the reasons you never wanna break the bond we built with us. Seek your needs to yearn for me, make quiet love. Never had this before. It's clear to see we've become so inseparable. Show me when our love was true. Down and out, I can count on you. Swear I won't lose you, boy. Taking me with a great desire. Promise to never lose that fire. Your heart's my home. I like the way you move, liking all the ways you touch. You're so insatiable, insatiable, insatiable. It's about the way you lust, giving me that crazy rush. You're so insatiable, insatiable, insatiable. Before you got a taste of this honey, you was treating me sweet. I've been down for a minute, now I'm back on my feet. You don't even gotta worry, it's real, cause it's me. Still I caution my beat, and my heart falls deep. But you a real one. I've been watching, I've been checking on your actions. Did I add up? Now it's stuck, no subtractions. No subtractions. I like the way you move, liking all the ways you touch. You're so insatiable, insatiable, insatiable. It's about the way you lust, giving me that crazy rush. You're so insatiable,